In this next chapter, we are going to be discussing the middle part of your book. So, the first thing here, and what you should always want to do, is maintain your audience's engagement from the beginning of your chapter. Your story should not be like a capital U with a hook at the beginning and a hook at the end and really nothing in the middle. Your story should be like an ascending line moving upwards. You should always be having the characters, the dialogue, and the action moving the story forward, and the scenes in your story pumped up and compelling so that it keeps the story interesting and maintains your audience's engagement. The first major way to do this is to pump up the intensity of the scenes in your chapter and also throughout your story. You always want the intensity to continue from the beginning to the end and supposedly into the next chapter depending on what is taking place in your story. So for an example of how to develop intensity and keep your readers engaged, I have written a scene for you and I'm going to be reading out to you right now. The small militia trekked through the humid Amazon rainforest, through the dense fields, and underneath the leafy Socrati exoryza and paparaba trees. All 7 soldiers were on their guard, clutching their AR-15s close to their chests as they swept through the area. No immediate threat was pressing towards them, or that's what they thought before their leader began hearing a small beeping noise underneath his foot. The minds of the members of his militia raced frantically, thinking the worst as their leader glanced down to see a small mine slightly tucked underneath his boot. The leader gave them a silent, waving signal to get to any cover they could find close by without making any noise. The leader, showing no sense of panic despite knowing deep inside that he could be experiencing his final moments on Earth, knelt down and retrieved a Swiss Army knife from his utility kit. He utilized his bomb squad training that he and the rest of his troop received before deploying to the Amazon to inspect the mine and recognize the type of mine that his foot was on. He found the wires to disarm the bomb, which were completely underneath his foot as he bent as far forward as he could to see where the wires were. He knew to quickly cut 2 gray wires, which were surrounded by red and blue wires. He had to be precise as sweat began pouring from the brim of his hat to the corneas of his eyes. He barely reacted to the burning sensation that he felt or the butterflies in his stomach. He was completely in survival mode as he snipped the first gray wire. The second one was wrapped tightly around another blue wire. He had no chance of getting the wires loose from one another. He had to make the cut and pray to the good Lord above that the mine would not annihilate him. He concentrated, briskly made the cut, and the bomb stopped beeping. The leader set down his Swiss Army knife and wiped the sweat from his forehead as he took a deep breath in blissful relief. Before he could exhale, a sniper bullet shattered his skull where he had just wiped his head. The bullet exited the back of his head and was lodged in the tree behind him, along with pieces of his bone and brain. The leader slowly fell with his foot lifting off of the bomb, which proceeded to explode. It had turned out it wasn't an ordinary bomb that he thought it was. It shot tiny circular metal balls in every direction. The body of the leader was ripped apart even more from the miniature bullets, as so were the members of his militia. One soldier was instantly blinded in his right eye by a bullet before another one entered his left eye, putting a permanent end to his suffering. 4 went straight through the vest of a soldier who tried to retrieve his leader, with another one going through an unprotected area under his chin and straight through his head. Another soldier turned away and a bullet went through his knee, obliterating his patella and rendering him immobile. The soldier screamed on the ground for help, while another sniper bullet entered their range and shattered his skull, putting an end to his screaming. The uninjured three kept their cover behind the trees as they could hear footsteps surrounding them and closing in. Due to their enemy's invisibility within the trees and bushes, they couldn't determine exactly where they were coming from. All they knew is that their chances of living for another minute were very slim. Through this example, you can see how the scene with the soldiers in the jungle was already very tense. However, with the leader stepping on the mine, to the leader struggling to concentrate and cut the wires, to the small relief of thinking that he disarmed the bomb and then a sniper bullet splitting his head apart, to the bomb exploding and the enemy coming, that tension goes as high as the sky, and it is something that would keep the reader's attention and make them want to continue reading more. You always want to make the scene as tense as possible. You want to constantly find ways to raise that intensity and action throughout your story through the scenarios that you put your characters through. No matter what it is, it could be a battle or an argument or a date or a family discussion, always think of ways that you could pump up the intensity of your scenes.